Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing?
Good.
Great. I appreciate everybody's time. And we are starting just a little bit over 7 minutes. We're waiting for more folks to join. So you are welcome. This is Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night. And like I always say, Friday night, you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here to share in the knowledge and also to be with the Eretmis family. So this uh today we are going to do a part two of what we did last week, and we are going to jump into doing interview practice, right? And this is leading into helping everyone to, even if you're not actively involved, you'll be trying to answer these questions on your own to see how well you are going to do if you're to face an interview, right? So I'm still going to have Isosa as my co-pilot. She's going to be helping with the questions. And we are going to run through, look at a few cyber news here and there. And then we will ask for volunteers to attend our interview. And then also we will pick at least three panel members to be our judges, and then they'll give their insight, right? So you're welcome once again. We are starting time now. So you're welcome to Eretmis Cyber Chat. This is brought to you by Eretmis Academy. And if you are new to the Eretmis family, you are very much welcome. We do this every Friday night. So we encourage you to join us every Friday night to, learn new cybersecurity stuff. And we do a lot of fun stuff like what we are going to be doing tonight. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm going to be your instructor or your facilitator, and Isosa is going to be my co-pilot for tonight. I'm a former United States Army captain. I'm a QSA, PCI QSA, and I'm also the owner of a QSA company, Eretmis Inc. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. and then also the founder of Eretmis Academy, a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC. And I love to teach cybersecurity, mentor, and spread the word in the cybersecurity space. And then also leadership management is one of my strongholds as well. So we are going to move on. Eretmis, we are Eretmis Academy. We are authorized partners with CompTIA. And what that means is that we have 20% on all CompTIA vouchers. So if you are looking to sit for any CompTIA exams, you reach out to us. We will purchase the voucher on your behalf with a 20%, and you'll be able to sit for any CompTIA exams that you might want to sit for. And for all certifications in the security space, every 3 years you have to renew. And one of the ways that you can renew, or two ways, you can either resit for the exam, or you can use what we call continual educational points. And attending cyber chats, or webinars like this one, if you type Team Live in the chat, you'll be able to take a screenshot of that and use that as part of your continuous educational points. And you can use that to renew your certificates when, or your certification when the time comes, right? So I encourage everybody, if you have any certification that you are trying to renew in the very near future, attend cyber chats and you put in there Team Live, and you'll be able to use that to recertify, right? So we have a WhatsApp group. I think it is full now, but some people get out here and there, so you'll be able to join if you want to join our WhatsApp group. It's Eretmis WhatsApp group. The link will be posted, so you'll be able to use that to join. And our YouTube channel, everything that we are doing here is going live on YouTube, and we are also going to post the video once it is ready. But we live stream on YouTube as well, and all our previous cyber chats are on YouTube as well. So you can go ahead and it's a whole school on its own that you can learn a lot from, right? And tonight we are going to be looking at cyber news, and then we jump into our interview session again, the part two of it. So for cyber news, MasterCard is in the news, and is for good reasons. They've partnered with one of the cybersecurity strong giants. They are called Recorded Future, and this is a I think it was a 2.2 billion acquisition, or thereabout. So Mastercard has bought a cybersecurity company that is using cutting-edge AI technology to help everything security. So most especially on the identity and access management side. And Mass started this because they think, or I will say they think, because they are the one who did the purchase. They think, or they know, this is going to be a very good collaboration or a good acquisition that is going to help them when it comes to identity and fraud prevention on the part of MasterCard. And when it comes to credit card and debit card, there's a lot of criminals who double in that area. So it's good for MasterCard. They'll be able to use everything that Recorded Future has to help improve the security of everything that they do. That will translate into helping customers' information to be kept safe, right? Although companies who are accepting MasterCard cards will also have a part to play by staying in compliance with PCI DSS and others. So we are only going to touch on just one cyber news because we have a lot to cover tonight. So and I know there are a couple of cyber news that were posted that were posted in the WhatsApp group. Maybe we'll give the floor to hear at least one or two, and then we'll move forward. So if you have any cyber news that you think is worth mentioning, you can kindly raise your virtual hand, and we'll give you the floor, and we move forward, right? So if you have any, whilst we are waiting, we are just going to go through some housekeeping stuff real quick. So for folks who are on here trying to get into cybersecurity, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the gateway into your cybersecurity career. You don't necessarily need an IT background or cybersecurity background. All you need is at least high school. You can read and write. You can do basic. You are computer literate. You can do basic computer stuff, and we'll take care of the rest, right? So this comes with the training, hands-on, where you get to work with cybersecurity tools. We walk you through to create your own cloud environment. So have a virtual lab that you are going to use to practice with some of the popular tools. And then we have an internship where you are going to go through and work on real-world security projects as well. And we help with job placement assistance, where we help you with interview prep, like what we are about to do, right? So the entry-level course, is your gateway into the security space. And if you're already in IT or you're already in the cybersecurity space, you're looking to specialize, then you can jump into the payment security compliance area, right? This is arguably the most lucrative area in the security space. And our next session is going to be starting ending of this month. So you can look into registering for this one also as well. And for our internship, our new internship cohort is starting on the 21st. That is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, 21st of September. So if you've done any training elsewhere, RMF, some GRC training, and you don't have the hands-on in terms of working on projects, this is the program that is going to help you bridge that gap between knowledge and skill, right? Like I always say, if you've done something as compared to somebody who has just read about it, they are two different things. If you have to describe it to somebody or to, show your potential employer that you have projects under your belt in the security space, right? So if you've been doing self-study, you have Security Plus, some other certifications, and you really don't have what it takes to do the job, don't kid yourself and say, yeah, of course, when I get the job, I'm going to do it. Because on the job, they are not going to train you. They are going to orient you on what they do. That is not where they're going to teach you security and teach you how to do projects. So this is where a safe environment for you to learn, fail, grow, and become perfect before you get into on any role, So tomorrow, we invite everyone to join us. We have our interns are graduating, our seniors are graduating tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. We encourage you to join us. We'll send out the link for everyone to be able to join us and hear what our interns, we've transformed them to become, right? They are full-blown cybersecurity professionals now, and they are going to tell their own story during their graduation tomorrow. And then also still for the conference, we're still waiting. The registration that we've had so far is not up to where we need it to be able to push this forward. So kindly make sure when we push out the link, you are, showing your interest and your intention to attend this. That way we can move it forward, right? So with this, I appreciate everybody's time. I think if you have any cyber news, you can raise your hand and bring it up, or if you have any general questions, you can raise your hand and bring it up whilst we are transitioning into our interview practice that we started last week. So our case, madam, is here. It also has been pinned. Any volunteers for the interview? If you want to volunteer, raise your virtual hand. We need 3. We are going to write your names down. I think last week we had, Emmanuel, you've been noted. Let me get my pen. And I know our case master will be writing. Okay, so Emmanuel is one. Anybody else wants to volunteer? Now when you volunteer, we are putting you on the spot, right? But this is a safe environment to learn, because we didn't give you any job description before you came in here. And the questions that we are asking are, they will be a bit technical, a bit soft skills. So a combination of both. Right? Anybody else? Or I should just pick. I know some people that I can randomly pick on here. Right. But I would love for, everybody to out of their own will volunteer, or I'll just volunteer for some folks. Right. So whilst we are waiting for our potential employees whom we are going to interview, I'm going to go through and pick my judges for tonight. So I think everybody from the current internship group graduating tomorrow, there should be more hands up from that group. Okay, so John. Oh, waiting for 2 more. Is everybody scared? Okay, so now I'm just going to pick. Okay, let me go through the list. I'll come up with a really good list. Okay, I'll pick. So Jason dodged the bullet last week. I'm not sure if Jason is ready. Jason, are you ready for this week? All right, so we'll go with Jason. Jason handed his spot last week to, I think, Dr. I don't remember fully. Okay, so now we've just left with 1. So Emmanuel and Jason, now we need one of our sisters to also jump in. Who is going to take that bold step? Okay. I was looking at Jacqueline, but there are 2 Jacquelines, so I'm not sure if the Jacqueline I'm looking for is the same Jacqueline logged in twice.
Yes, Dr. Do. I'm logged in twice.
Okay, Jacqueline. And I'm just going. Jacqueline didn't participate last week, did you?
I did.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So no, then Jacqueline is not going this week. Anybody from our current interns graduating? In the list, I don't seem to find everybody on here, because for some reason today everybody just disappeared, because it's going to be some are going to be put on the spot. All right, then we can just take. If our ladies are not, none of them want to step up, then I'm just going to pick randomly. So
Our sister Ellie one.
Ellie. Okay, Ellie, you want to? Okay, Ellie has been added to the list. So Ellie, are you on here? Going through the list. Ellie one. Okay, Ellie, you want to step up? Take the challenge. Ellie is not talking.
We have
Okay, Ellie.
Electro with the hands up. I don't know if she's
Okay,
wrong.
Ellie, cool. Okay, Ellie, cool. Want to go? All right. So then we have 3 already. Now for our judges, I was going to pick. Okay, so for our judges, Judge 1 is going to be Vincent. Vincent just joined. Vincent, you just showed up and you've been made a judge. So for folks that we are interviewing is Emmanuel, Jason, and Eliku. So we have one judge randomly going through. Let me see. I'm not sure if everybody's joining with their name or some folks are logging in with other.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to put myself in there. It's going to be myself and Vincent. That way we can start early. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to our quiz or our HR, who is going to do our interview for us. Isosa is going to take it away from here. And we can go through any order. I mean, either Eliku, Jason, Emmanuel, or the other way around. Right. So Isosa, you can kindly take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Adu. My name is Asosa St. Cyr, and I am part of the Eretmis family. I'm a cybersecurity professional. I will briefly introduce our company, and then I'll go straight into the questions. The grading rubric is 5 points per question. So judges is 5 points per question. So let me go ahead and get us started. Our company is looking for a cybersecurity GRC analyst. We're looking for a self-starter, someone with excellent people skills and can work as part of our GRC team. So to kick us off for this interview session, let's see. So for example, in your organization, you see that employees frequently bypass security policies. As a cybersecurity GRC professional, how do you handle this problem? Now, for those of you, our interviewees, this is the order in which you're going to be answering the question. Emmanuel will go first, then Jason, then Ileko. All right. So I'm going to repeat the question again. For example, in your organization, you see that employees frequently bypass security policies. As a cybersecurity GRC professional, how do you handle this problem?
First and foremost, thank you very much for the opportunity to be interviewed. In my organization, when employees are bypassing security policy, first and foremost, I have to know the root cause. The root cause most likely will be that they are unaware, they are not educated about the importance of cybersecurity. So I have to prepare cybersecurity awareness training for them to be trained of the relevance of adhering to policies and the implication of non-adherence. So those are some of the steps I will take. Then I will make my management to buy into the training. And I'm sure when they are trained, they know the implications. They will not be bypassing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Jason?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. In my opinion, there are 3 reasons why most employees bypass the systems. misunderstanding, convenience, and lack of awareness. So to deal with that situation, the first thing I would do would be to conduct interviews and surveys to find out what the reasons are, analyze the behavioral patterns, so monitor the tools to detect the behavior that indicate the bypassing. Maybe it's unauthorized devices or applications. And then I would, based on those, develop a training session to help them understand the importance and reinforce the security awareness.
Thank you, Aleko.
Thank you so much for that question. I believe the first thing that comes to my mind when individuals engage in practices such as bypassing a policy, a company policy, number one, it might be that they are not aware of the policy. And if they are aware of the policy, it may be that it's the policy imposes some difficulty towards their being able to adhere to that specific policy. So I would look at what is that policy that, I mean, how is the policy structured in terms of in such a way, and can we put it in such a way that it makes it easier for the employees to adhere? So for example, if we have to change our password every 3 months, and the password has to be a really long password, then chances are somebody would want to write that password down. So I would probably, in the process of addressing this issue, I would ensure that any training and awareness, cybersecurity training and awareness event that we put on addresses how to maybe use passwords that are long enough but are easier for employees to use, or implement a two-factor authentication, or implement a process whereby an individual can log in once and be approved to access certain resources that using the multiple factor authentication with something that they can remember, or a token that's assigned to them as they are logged into the system. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to the judges, and they're going to give us a grade for each of the interviewees. So Vincent, you want to start us off, then Dr. Adu will give us his as well.
Thanks, Asosa. I don't remember the name, but the first guy, and again, let me preface my comment by saying what I've always said at this meeting. The interviews are very subjective, and we're just, for this, the purpose of this is just to help each other improve. So I don't want anyone to take the critique they might get from us personal. We're just all trying to help. So what I would say is the first guy kind of answered the question, but I felt it could have, he had the concept, but I felt like, you disturbing me. I felt like he could have said a lot more. He clearly had the concept, but just the expatiate on it. Now, the second guy, the first guy, I'll probably give a 4 for this question. Now, the second guy, I'll give 5 or 5 to, because he truly, truly answered the question. And I felt satisfying. For Eliku, who just spoke lastly now, there's still room for improvement. Keep working. You clearly, at some point, you lost me with the things you were explaining. So I'll probably grade that, say, at a 3.5, with a full understanding that you know the concept you're talking about. You just need to improve more on the language, just so we can follow you when you explain those things. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Vincent. The first person that spoke, Vincent, is Emmanuel, and the second person is Jason before Elico, okay? All right, Dr. Adu.
All right. So for me, I'm looking at content and then also delivery. Right now, for I scored Emmanuel 5, Jensen 5, and Elico 5, and this is the reason. So for I'll start with Elico. So for Elico, like Vincent rightly said, she had everything down, but tendency for, and we all do this, like when you explain it one time, you are good. But when you think there is more for you to say or explain it further, now you start to lose whoever is listening, right? So I give Elico still 5 because she hit on all the right notes, but then she cycled back and she was almost about to go in circles. So I think that is something that everybody should learn from, right? Yes, your answer should be, straight, concise, precise, or sweet and short, without sacrificing the content or the details. So for Emmanuel, Emmanuel also hit he just went straight to the point, right? And because he's the first person who answered it also, that is why I gave him a 5, because then the rest will have the chance to, recognize their thoughts. And Jason really, hit on all the like everything that will lead, folks or staff, in a company to bypass policies that have been put in place, right? But I think everybody hit on all the important keynotes, right? So that will be my take on this. So kindly go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah, Dr. Adu, you just I was going to talk about Jason's answer. I felt Jason's answer was very good because he first gave the reason and then he went on and explained each one after the other. So I just wanted to add to what you had said, that Jason perhaps gave. That's not to say anyone's the other people's answer weren't good, but Jason's answer, I was more, or I felt it brought an understanding of the concept, and he thoroughly explained it. So well done, my brother. That was good.
Yeah, great job
Thank
on
you.
this one. So we can move to the second question.
All right, great start, guys. So the next question, in cybersecurity GRC, some terms are thrown around frequently, and one of those terms is the word control. How do you describe a control? What is a control?
Thank you very much for the question. Control are set of policies or any strategy, any safeguard you put in place to make sure that the confidentiality, the integrity, and availability of application or data are not compromised. For instance, to make sure your data is only people that have that kind of are granted, or those that have legal access to data that only have access to it, you put in password policies. Those are controls. You may say the password may be, you think about password complexity, maybe you have the password must be 12 characters or so. That's an example of a control. The control will help to safeguard unauthorized access to data and to the applications. Basically, that's what control is all about.
Thank you. Jason?
Okay, thank you so much. So not every risk can be completely taken care of. So for me, a control is a specific safeguard or countermeasure that you put in place to bring down the risks as much as possible to your accepted level, whatever that is within each company. So it protects the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability, basically the CIA triad, of the information and the systems, ensuring everybody remains compliant with all the regulations, all the standards, and all the policies within the organization and globally that they all follow.
All right, thank you. Aleko?
Thank you. For me, when I think control, I'm thinking about compliance, I'm thinking about frameworks. And so I believe control is it's a policy, a process, or an activity that is put in place to reduce the vulnerability of a system. Network system. That's how I'd put it. Thank you.
All right, judges.
I'm going to
Vincent,
start
go
with
first.
Eliku. I'm going to start with Eliku because I think she hit the nail on the head. So that for me is a 5 because she touched on the technical aspects of it. But then policies are also some kind of controls that can be implemented. Everyone had the right answer, but I feel by adding the policy dimension to it, she kind of brought the point home that controls are not just technical, controls sometimes you can also effect controls with your policies. For the rest of the guy, I would score every other person, the other two guys 5 too, because this was a very straightforward question. The goal of control is mitigation. We cannot eradicate all risk. But we can reduce them substantially, and that's always the goal of control. So I felt like they both answered the question. So I'm going to also score those guys 5 each. But if I'm going to score anyone, it would be Eliku coming out tops on this because she answered the policy aspect of it.
Doug?
All right. Okay. So my take will be a little bit different, right? So, I'm always an advocate of always coming from the point of knowledge, right? Controls, you can explain and break it down, but when you come down to basics of cybersecurity, what is a control? So I expected everybody was talking about the byproducts of control. So control, we use it ultimately is to reduce risks, right? And what is risks? We move into protecting your confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, what are the types of controls? What are the forms of controls? Right. So you have to, whoever is listening, you have to let them know that you know what you're talking about. Right. So you don't think a control is used for this area or for that area. You are going to start with, the theoretical concepts stated in all cybersecurity books. So a measure that is used to enforce confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? And in doing so, we are reducing risks overall. Now, what are the main 3 types of controls? We have administrative control, physical control, and what is the last one? Anybody remembers? Technical control.
Technical?
Yes. Now, CompTIA, this is the traditional controls. CompTIA has, they have taken out physical and they replaced it with operational. I think from CompTIA 601 is when they started doing that. I mean, but everybody else in the industry still stick with the traditional 3, right? Now, those are the types of controls. What are the forms of controls? The forms of controls are preventive, detective. Yeah, somebody put it in the chat, Collins, like corrective, right?
Corrective.
Yes,
And
the forms. Yes.
Response?
Yes, the forms of control, the intent is what they do. They are labeled by what they do. So if it is to prevent, if it is to detect, right? Now, all the forms of controls can be categorized under the types of controls. So like Eliku was saying, so everything that everybody said, if you tie it into this, whoever is listening will know, okay, man, this person really know their stuff, because the frameworks, the standards, the policies, they all fall under, they can fall under administrative, right? Policies fall under administrative. If there is a big sign at your workplace that says employees only or do not enter, that is an administrative control, right? Technical controls in the security sense, if a firewall is preventing traffic coming in, that is a technical control. Anything we are using technology to enforce will be a technical control, right? Now, physical controls are anything that we have. If you put a fence, if we put a man trap, right? That way you cannot just, two people cannot enter at the same time, or we are preventing tailgating. All those are physical controls, right? So everything that you said, you can come out, start off with this, and then you can put everything else that you said in the different baskets that I just mentioned. So they know you are not just talking about controls, but controls inside out. Because everything that you're going to be doing in security, it comes down to the fundamentals and the basics, right? So if your basics are strong, you can argue your point out and reduce it all the way to whatever problem that is, right? So with that, my take for Eliku, I'll give Eliku 3.5. Simply because she mentioned frameworks and all that is good, but I was expecting her to mention at least CIA and RICS, right? Although everything you mentioned, the overall goal, right? But I didn't hear her mention that. For Jason, I'll give him a 4. For Emmanuel, I give him a 4 because they mentioned CIA triad and also reducing RICS, right? So that will be my take. We can go on to the next question.
All right, thank you so much. Now, our next question is kind of like a continuation of the previous one. I would like you to please name 2 controls that you can deploy to preserve each component of the CIA. Name 2 controls that you can deploy to preserve each component of the CIA.
All right. One for the confidentiality component of the CIA, I could deploy strong password. That would be a strong password will help to preserve confidentiality. Then for integrity, I'll make sure there is a adequate change management system. Then for the availability, there'll be adequate backup and recovery policy in place so that in case there's a breach, the organization can easily recover from the breach or from the incident.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Jason?
Yeah. Well, starting simply, that seems to be a kind of tricky question. So most times, encryption such as AES, advanced encryption, and the TLS, the transport layer security, provides protection basically for confidentiality, along with role-based access control. Then for integrity, the basic hashing systems would cover that, and then having the digital signatures or whatever certificates would cover that in terms of for integrity. So you would know how safe each file or each piece of information are based on how secure those basic protocols followed. For availability, we would basically use redundancy systems and DDoS, or for in term are as well web application firewalls. For cloud and, for example, Cloudflare and AWS Shield.
Thank you, Jason. Leko? Leko, can you hear us?
Oh, you are muted, Eliku, if you're trying to speak. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted. So for confidentiality, I would look at encryption and I would look at multi-factor authentication. For integrity, I would look at hashing. Availability, think of backup and recovery, failover, having increasing the number of servers, let's say by using cloud service provider to reduce incidences of DDoS and similar attacks. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent.
Please, let me say something. I like the answers, but I'm going to not call and just kind of explain what I have in mind. And because I know Dr. Adu will touch more on it. So when you get a question like this, guys, just think about three things. For all of those CIA triads, just think about what they are trying to protect against and think about the opposite of it. So the first one, confidentiality. What would be the opposite of confidentiality? It would be disclosure, meaning someone else has access to what we don't want them to have access to. So what would we do to ensure that only people who are authorized have access to something? Okay, we're going to protect it. How do we protect it? As someone mentioned, through encryption. That's majorly. The other one is integrity. Integrity means we don't want people who are not authorized to make changes, to make certain changes. So what would be the opposite of integrity? People can go alter things, and we don't want them to do that. The third one is availability. What can we do to prevent things from not being available? As someone already said, we do replications, we do backup, just to ensure that things are available when we need them. So when you explain questions like this, always just do like what I just did here. Always explain the goal of each of those three CIA triad, and I think that is helpful. That said, I think everyone gave a good answer. Dr. Du.
All right. So let me look at my notes here. So for Emmanuel, Emmanuel talked about for confidentiality, strong password, and yes, so he said strong password for confidentiality. But I didn't hear him mention anything about access control. And I think, or maybe if you did, then I probably didn't hear that. And then I heard you say change management for integrity and backup for availability, right? So yes, for these answers, like Vincent said, look at the intent of like what are we trying to achieve, right? And all these are, I'm going back to the basics. All these are basic cybersecurity stuff. So if you are all high and mighty on all complex cybersecurity stuff, and when we bring you down to third grade and first grade and you are all over the place, then what foundation do you have, right? So for confidentiality, what are the traditional ways of enforcing confidentiality? Academically, if you academic side of cybersecurity, you do your access control, cryptography using encryption. And then we have steganography and what is the last one? Steganography and something else. Anybody? But steganography is just for academic purposes. We don't use it. That is hiding data in plain sight, right? So they're hiding data in data. Now, when we go into access control, yes.
Obfuscation.
Obfuscation. Obfuscation is like hiding your key under your carpet, like your front, like in front of your porch, hiding your key under your floor mat, right? Nobody, I mean, that is the first place the attacker is going to look. If I want to break into your house, when I get there, I'm not going to straight go for the lock. I'm going to look under stones nearby, and because that is where people put it because they think people, that is obfuscation, right? So for Emmanuel, strong password, yes, that falls under access control, identity and access management, access control. So you are right on that one. And for integrity, change management, yes, change management will help, but traditionally for integrity, we are looking at hashing and using still cryptography, certificates, digital signatures, and the rest. But change management can also help with integrity, managing integrity. Now, mostly when you give your response, right, try and explain it a bit further, like Vincent was saying. So to really hit a home run. So strong password, what is strong password going to do to confidentiality? Now, if you started with explaining, why we need to enforce confidentiality, and one of the ways would be strong password because it will help us do ABC, then you are, even if you give just one, you are going to hit a home run because you have at least 4 items that you can use to enforce confidentiality, right? So if I were you, I'll mention more for each category. That way, at least they know you just don't know one from each area. And then also, instead of mentioning straight going for strong password falls under what? Under access control, right? Which also falls under identity and access management. So I will start from there. Like I said, always start from a point of knowledge, and then you break it out into practicality, right? So for Jason did go with encryption. That falls encryption, but he said role-based access control. It's access control, not just role-based access control. There are different types of access controls. We have rule-based, discretionary, and the rest. So don't just limit yourself or just throw that word around. It's not just role-based that you can use for confidentiality, or access control in general helps with confidentiality, right? So sometimes you just want to stick to, that is why I'm saying if you start from the broader perspective and give the broader categories and then put things underneath, then you don't probably commit yourself in that space. And then certificates, hashing for integrity, that was good. Now, I'm not sure if I misheard Jason, but he talked about DDoS for availability. Were you saying something to do to prevent DDoS, or DDoS as a way of enforcing availability? I wasn't really sure what that was. But then you also talked about redundancy for availability, which is good. So for availability, what are some of the traditional ways of enforcing availability? The main thing that we do for availability, one of the biggest things is redundancy, yes, and also to remove anything or anything that will be a practice or that will be an item, anything that will be a single point of failure, right? And then the next question is, what is a single point of failure? So single point of failure, a very basic example, if you fly, the planes, they normally have more than one engine. If they have one engine and that one engine fails, there is no place to stop in the sky, right? You are coming down. That is a single point of failure. If one item fails and the whole operations of the organization will come to a standstill, then that is a single point of failure. Now, if you had 2 engines in your plane, one fails, the other one will pick up the load. So it is as if nothing really happened, right? So we have eliminated a single point of failure incident, at that point, right? If you are driving and your radio goes off in your car, you're still going to get to where you are going to. But if your engine breaks, you are not going nowhere. That is a single point of failure, right? So anything within our setup that will prevent the whole operations from moving forward, that is a single point of failure. So redundancy will help us enforce single point of removing anything that will encourage single point of failure. And then also there are other things that we can do, making sure we are using different locations and different sites. Everything that we do, pretty much the goal is to help reduce single point of failure. So which was good. So for Jason, I'll give Jason a 5. I'll give Emmanuel 4.5. And for Eliku also hit on, encryption, multi-factor hashing, backup, recovery, failover, and eliminating. I think Eliku was trying to say, eliminating anything that will contribute to a single point of failure, but she couldn't, I think she couldn't, find the right words. So for Eliku, I will also give a 5, right? So that'll be my take.
All right, thanks, Doc. Vincent, what numbers did you give everybody? I didn't get that.
No, I didn't score, but if I was going to score, I would follow Dr. Adu's trend, like Eliku with a 5 and the rest with 4 each.
The rest with 4. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. The next question. Now, GRC is a constantly evolving field. How do you stay current with the changes in regulations, emerging risks, and new technologies?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. In staying current, I engage in industrial webinars. I involve in professional certifications. For instance, I'm currently preparing for CISSP. So I also subscribe to different sites like Isaka site to get current and updated news, and all those framework sites like NIST and SANS.org. So with that, I keep myself current with all the new trend within the cybersecurity landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Jason?
Okay, so for me, the first or most significant one for me is community involvement, conferences, and webinars. So networking with people on LinkedIn, joining communities on LinkedIn, and networking with people there, conferences and webinars like Dr. Adu has in the future. I hope next one will be in Japan. Certifications and training, such as CISSP, CSM, whatever, etc. And then, as Emmanuel also said, following the trusted sources, the NIST, the SANS, the CISA, and also subscribing to the threat intelligence fields to keep updated in real time on all of the trends and all of the news that keep happening.
Thank you, Jason. Aleko?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Of course. GRC is a constantly evolving field. How do you stay current with the changes in regulations, emerging risks, and new technologies?
So one of the things that I do is daily, of course, Monday to Friday, I listen to cyber blogs on YouTube, specifically Simply Cyber by Gerald Auger. And then I have engaged continuously in continuous education. I participate in several WhatsApp groups that members are interested and in the field of cybersecurity. I also participate in meetup groups, and I attend conferences, cybersecurity conferences. I also subscribe to news feeds from sites that inform, for example, ongoing cybersecurity news. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent?
Yeah, for Aliku, I would say if you do all this, I hope you still have a life, because that seems like a lot. But for this one, I think everyone kind of mentioned the most important thing, okay? You join communities such as this, you read and you listen to podcasts, and when necessary, you also take certification exams. So for this one, I think everybody did pretty well. That's just, I don't know if I'm allowed to score this, but I would probably say everyone got 5 each for this one.
All right. Yes. So just like Vincent said, I'll score everybody a 5 on this one. And this is for everybody. This is a question that you usually will get in an interview,
Yes.
right? How do you stay current? So pick and what they are looking for is exactly what everybody said. You should be part of organizational, cybersecurity organizational bodies. You should be attending webinars. You should be continuously pursuing certifications, right? In meetup groups, right? And you should not just saying them, but what emails, subscriptions do you have? I think was it Jason or somebody. So maybe you can subscribe to CompTIA, you can subscribe to Sans, you can subscribe to all these on YouTube. What channels are you subscribed to, right? So this is what they are looking for, and it has to be from all sources, not just one. So at least everybody has something to talk about if you find yourself anywhere and you get this question. So I'll score everybody a 5. They did well on this one.
All right, thank you, Doc. We have one more question. Describe a time when you had to explain a complex cybersecurity concept to a non-technical audience. How did you ensure they understood?
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, there was a time in my organization where we're to implement. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, there was a time in my organization where we were to implement some controls, and the controls was as a result of the gap that was discovered in an audit. We actually failed a particular compliance audit. So to make my organization understand it, or the people I was to attend to, I have to explain to them. I made a presentation to them. I broke the term down in the simplest form as I could. Like I actually conducted a cyber awareness training, explaining to them the importance of the control and the importance of the audit we have failed and all the vulnerability that were discovered and how to remediate it. So I explained to them, and we put the controls and the remediation in place. And in the next quarter, we passed the audit assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Jason?
This brings me back. The first live stream that I watched for Eretmis, Dr. Du said, if you can explain something to a 60-year-old and an 80-year-old, and they both come away with understanding the concept, you have done well. So with this, I was trying to explain encryption, and it wasn't going very well with the detailed and technical explanations. So I simply said that encryption is locking your data with a key. So from that, I simply said, imagine if somebody intercepts your mail. If the data is encrypted, and Dr. Adu used this before, if the data is encrypted, even if the person opens the mail, they would not be able to read the contents. So it would be useless to them. So that is what encryption is. It's basically a letter inside of a locked box with a password on it. Without the key, it's useless.
Thank you, Jason. Aleko? I think you might still be on mute, Aleko.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm back now. So I was talking about presenting an awareness and security awareness training where I had both technical and non-technical members, company employees. So to ensure that, both the technical and the non-technical were received the information. I did use different ways of presenting the information, partly ensuring that the content was presented at a level where everybody could understand. I used visuals, I used analogies, and just everyday events to explain some of the concepts that I was trying to present to the group. So, for example, I believe somebody used one of the concepts I used in terms of trying to explain why we needed to have strong passwords, and that's using either having like two, if you had if you have a house and you're trying to ensure that nobody make it difficult for a thief to break in, having a strong password is like having a double lock on a door rather than just a single lock, or having an outer door and an inner door, and having a combination of ways of trying to get through, so that a person who only knows how to pick a lock might not be able to use maybe a combination to break into the lock. So just putting various obstacles in front of potential person who has an intention of breaking in. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent?
Let me, because she was the one that spoke last. I think Aliku really knows the concept, but could do with more practice, just like every one of us. So that's it. I like Jason's answer the most, especially if you could stick to that every time you come up with a question like this. If you could stick to that, I think that will always help, when you can always explain something as simple as complex as encryption like that. It helps everybody understand it. So I was called Jason of 5. Then for the first guy, I think it was Emmanuel. I was called Emmanuel of 4 for his explanation. And then make one more comment that when you're talking to non-technical folks, as Dr. Adu always says, that breaking it down to them like there are 5 helps. But also, more importantly, brevity also helps, like keep it brief, especially the higher up you go when you're explaining to C-suites, people like the executive at the executive level, they don't have time. So if you, as brief as you can make it, the better for you. If you can keep it very short and simple, the better for you. And at the end of the day, you would achieve your goal. So in terms of my grading, it will be 5, 4, 3. So in that order. Thank you.
Okay, so not 4 for Emmanuel, but 5?
For Eliku, it will be 4. For Jason, it will be 5. For Emmanuel, it will be 3. That's
Okay.
what I meant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this question, I think everybody tried. They did well, simply because for questions like this, you have to have already planned your like your scenarios. So if you go into interviews, you should have scenarios of things that you've done, put them into scenarios to make your delivery a bit easy and simple, right? If you've not thought of anything and they throw you into questions like this sounds like a very simple question. It's not a technical question, but it's going to throw you off, right? So if you don't take care, then you start talking in circles and your answer is becoming lengthy and lengthy. So for questions like this, you always go with a STAR method. So situation, what situation did you find yourself or your company, was in? What was the task that you're supposed to accomplish, or you and your team? What was the action? What was the results? Right. Emmanuel used that, strategy. So situation, task, action, results, but he couldn't give specifics because he was just put on the spot. So he had to, really. So he was, we were in a situation and he couldn't really pinpoint, okay, exactly this. So he was kind of thinking it through as he was going, and which he did well with it. So I'll score Emmanuel a 4, right, on this one. Now for Jason, Jason doesn't necessarily go with the STAR method, but he was at least able to break a concept down. But the question was, how have you, or how are you going to break down complex concepts to, non-technical people? So I'm not sure if that was, have you done it before, or how are you going to do it? Right. So regardless, Jason gave like a good, explanation in terms of how to break the concepts down. But what I was expecting from Jason also was to come up with the STAR method. So what was the situation? What was the task? What was the action? What was the results? Right. So with that, I'll give Jason also a 4. For Eliku also went on the tangent of situation, task, action, results. But still, she couldn't give specifics, just like Emmanuel, because she was put on the spot, right? They didn't have any prior knowledge of this question coming into it, right? So I also give her a 4. So I'll give everybody a 4 on this one.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Du, and thank you, Vincent. Thank you to all of our interviewees. I'm just going to go ahead and share the score. You all did great to have interviewed at such short notice and to be put on the spot. I really appreciate you, and your confidence shows. For Emmanuel, this is out of a 25. And you had a 21.75, so we can just round that out to a 22 out of 25. For Jason, it was a 23.5. We can just call that a 24 out of 25. And Eleko, you had a 22.5. We can just call that a 23. You all did great. Thank you so much to our judges. And Dr. Du, I'm going to turn this back over to you.
Thank you, Isosa. So I appreciate everybody's time and your contribution, and for our family members who were interviewed, to put yourself on the spot like that, it's like you are availing yourself. I'm here, crucify me. You did well. It's not easy to just put yourself on the spot. If you were going to any interview, you would have had the time to prepare and go through different questions and scenarios. So to put yourself on the spot and to be able to deliver, that shows that you are staying current. So for your answers to I think it was question 4, it shows that truly you are staying up to date with current security, happenings, and you are always learning. Because if you are not always learning, you cannot deliver in such a situation. You are just being put on the spot, right? So to have the courage to do all this, I tilt my hat, for all of you. So you did well, Jason, Emmanuel, Eliku. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you did. Now, moving forward, for folks who are about to go into interviews, we have a program where we are going to go through and do mock interviews like this with you, purely just mock interviews for GRC interviews. So if you're interested in that, you can hit us up, and we're also going to send you all the information that is needed. And it's going to be myself, Isosa, and probably we will throw in a few of our judges in there once in a while to help prep you for all your interviews, right? So we are about to wrap up for tonight. We are super early tonight. That way everybody can go about their weekend. I appreciate everybody's time. Tomorrow there's a graduation for GRC interns. So kindly come support us in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll try and stay within an hour. So within an hour by 11, you'll be ready to go. For our current interns, we are not meeting, we are all supporting our graduating interns. So kindly take a note of that. And for everybody else, we appreciate your time. Now, if you're looking to get onto the upcoming internship, it starts on the 21st. If you are in the entry level, you're almost done, we will shoot an email for you to go ahead and, register. And then for folks who are not part of the entry level, if you want to be part of it, you can also go online at eretmisacademy.com and also register to be part of it. So for folks who are also trying to get onto the cybersecurity, to start a cybersecurity career, our cybersecurity entry level course is the path to go. And before everybody leaves, we are going to post the link for everything that we talked about, and for our new program coming up. You can, either set up an appointment to talk to us, reach out to us via WhatsApp. And if you want to join our WhatsApp group also, you can put it, send the request, and we will grant you access in there. And we have a lot of team lives in here. We appreciate all of you. And Nicole joining us from Atlanta, Vancouver, Michael, Texas, Fred, and Thomas also from Texas. We appreciate everybody's time. Wrapping up for tonight. We will meet again next week, same time, for another insightful edition of Eretmis Cyber Chat. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend, Dr. Adu.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Good night.
Have a good weekend, everyone.